Before we get into the details, let's begin with the 1-minute hook, because this tactic deserves the sort of introduction normally reserved for classified files. Throughout the Cold War, nations poured billions into radar, infrared tracking, electronic interception, and aerial surveillance. They built satellites that could spot tank regiments from orbit and aircraft that could slip between radar wavelengths. Yet, in the middle of all this technological escalation, there was a field tactic so simple and so brutally effective that even today's stealth units still study it. It wasn't digital. It wasn't powered. It didn't require a battery or a signal. And when applied correctly, it defeated enemy reconnaissance as reliably as any high-tech cloaking system. Soldiers used it to hide entire positions, supply dumps, and even moving teams within a few seconds. It was never glamorous. It certainly never earned the budget that stealth bombers did. But ask any veteran who served in reconnaissance, special operations, or border surveillance, and they'll tell you the same thing. This Cold War camo trick worked, and it still works, even against 21st century detection systems. The tactic at the heart of this discussion is movement signature disruption. Instead of trying to match the environment perfectly through color or shape alone, Cold War units learned that the fastest way to remain unseen was to eliminate the one thing technology and humans both detect instantly: unnatural motion. Modern camouflage, really focuses on visual blending. But back during the Cold War, soldiers discovered something interesting. If they could break up the rhythm of their movement by moving in irregular intervals, freezing between steps, shifting along lines that matched the terrain, and, just avoiding predictable patterns, they became almost impossible to detect. Whether the observer was behind binoculars, using those early-generation infrared scopes, or scanning with radar-linked systems, the absence of expected movement patterns actually caused the brain to overlook them. The brilliance of this tactic honestly lay in its simplicity. A soldier wearing plain, outdated camouflage could stay invisible longer than someone in advanced material, simply by controlling how they moved. This became so essential that, honestly, some Soviet and NATO recon units spent more time training on movement disruption than on shooting drills. If a unit could stay unseen, it didn't matter how well they could fire. Modern stealth suits and ghillies lean heavily on material science. They scatter light, break thermal signatures, and weaken radar return. However, virtually every modern detection device still depends on change. Cameras, they detect motion. Thermal viewers, they pick up on temperature shifts caused by limb movement. Drones, on the other hand, track displacement over time. And really, human observers, no matter the era, are just hardwired to notice movement before they notice color. This is where, honestly, the Cold War tactic still wins out. Breaking movement patterns removes the one constant that all detection systems expect. Even a high-tech drone operator scanning a forested hillside has real difficulty spotting a target that moves only when the wind rustles the branches or advances just during the moment when shadows shift. It's really no coincidence that special operations units in so many countries still teach their recruits to sync their movement with environmental motion. It's actually a direct descendant of the old Cold War method. Now, to get a sense of just how adaptable this is, imagine a recon team that's been tasked with crossing open ground. They don't just sprint or crawl at a steady pace. Instead, they only move when the observer's focus resets, like when a patrol turns its head, when a vehicle passes by, or even when a light source flickers. Each movement is, well, short, sudden, and right away followed by complete stillness. The end result is a pattern that's so inconsistent that even trained observers tend to overlook it. A second example comes from forest operations. Instead of walking along a straight line, Cold War scouts used natural verticals, tree trunks, rock edges, fallen logs, to mask lateral movement. They shifted only when the wind moved understory growth. When foliage swayed, so did they. When the forest went still, they froze. Today, this still works perfectly, especially against drones whose AI is trained to detect unnatural motion. By syncing with the environment, the soldier ceases to be an anomaly. They become part of the natural motion signature of the landscape. For civilians and survival enthusiasts, the principle carries over. Anyone tracking wildlife, navigating hostile terrain, or avoiding detection in a survival scenario can apply this method. The key is to avoid rhythmic movement. Natural environments are irregular. To blend in, movement must be irregular too. When crossing an exposed area, advancing only during environmental shifts, such as wind gusts or temporary shadow transitions, dramatically reduces visibility. Practicing this in controlled conditions builds fluidity, and once learned, it becomes instinctual. Even with thermal camouflage nets, multispectral suits, and radar-absorbing materials, militaries still train soldiers in movement signature disruption because, honestly, it's the only counter that works even when equipment fails. Batteries die, materials tear, thermal signatures leak, and, well, environmental conditions can change. But the human body becomes its own stealth system when trained correctly. This is why the tactic survived the Cold War. It's cheap, universal, and does not rely on fragile technology. Units that master it gain a level of flexibility that just cannot be replicated through gear alone. A soldier who knows how to move like terrain can, outmaneuver someone wearing a $1 million stealth system but moving with predictable human rhythm. That simple truth is why this tactic still outperforms modern stealth in many field conditions. The tactical world is shifting toward drones, thermal imaging, and automated detection algorithms. These systems excel at spotting regular patterns, but they struggle when those patterns break. The Cold War tactic teaches adaptability and unpredictability, two traits that remain unbeatable even in 2025. It reminds us that technology does not replace fieldcraft. It only supplements it. Fieldcraft remains king. If you value deep, no-nonsense historical analysis like this, make sure you subscribe to In the Beginning and share this guide with fellow military history and survival enthusiasts. This channel grows because of sharp-minded viewers like you, and there is much more to uncover next.